Hi guy, my name's TJ. I live in Brisbane, so I'm not that far away from you. I'm actually a qualified psychologist, and one of the things I do for work is couples therapy. I'd like to invite you and Ant to contact me, so perhaps we could work together to help combat the problems you're having in a constructive way. Now, if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can of course do so through my YouTube account, and we'll go from there about further contact. But look, what I'd really like to get through to you and assure you is that you aren't alone in these problems. I think things have perhaps spiraled out of hand, but conflict in general, when couples first start living together, is actually quite normal and healthy. This stage in a relationship, of course, is about tolerance and adjustment. So learning about each other's annoying habits, for example, and the ways of doing things that the other person doing things that perhaps you aren't used to and that you find a little bit weird or illogical, and so forth. Things along that sort of nature. Now, I do agree with you that it isn't just all your fault. There of course is some blame lying on both sides of this, and Ant needs to accept that fact before your relationship moves on. Okay, so it can't move forward unless she realizes and accepts that some of the blame leads in her court. Because I mean, you could do all the right things, but if she's still doing all the wrong things, then the relationship's still going to remain strained, isn't it? So at the end of the day, I suppose you need to remember, and Ant needs to remember, the old saying that it takes two to tango, and that's really very true, especially in this sort of circumstances. Now, the only way as well that your relationship is going to move forward is if you both sit down together. Now, obviously, you've been doing that. You've talked about having a few discussions with each other and everything, but you need to discuss things in a mature, rational way and with conviction. Okay, so if you don't have the conviction in the relationship, if that's not there, then your relationship's going to flatline. It's not going to work. So you need to have that conviction there. That's really important. Now, these are all areas, of course, that a third-party therapist like myself can help with constructively. And if you choose not to contact me personally, I do suggest that you find another psychologist in your area who specializes in couples. I would suggest that you don't go to a counsellor, as they don't actually have any qualifications. You personally could decide to be a professional counsellor tomorrow without actually doing any courses or anything if you wanted to. It's not a regulated industry like psychology or psychiatry or anything. It's one of those alternative therapy sort of things. Should you and Ant not decide to get some professional guidance with your relationship, it basically boils down to the following 6 main areas that you need to work on in order to move forward in your relationship. So the first one you need to do is decide that you definitely want to be in a relationship. Now, if the two of you or one of you even isn't 100% sure that you want to be in this relationship anymore, then it's clearly not going to work, and you're clearly not going to be able to everything that you do past that point isn't going to really matter. So that's the first thing, key. You have to both sit down together and decide together that you're going to have the conviction in the relationship and you really 100% want to be a part of it. The second one is that you both have to stop purposely pushing each other's buttons. You mentioned that one of you will push buttons and then the other one will respond and then push buttons back in response, and so on and so forth, and it just turns into a big argument. And I can see where you're coming from with that. That's actually quite common and quite a big mistake that couples do make. But you need to stop doing that. So if, for example, Ant pushes your buttons, don't push back, don't retaliate, just ignore it. Walk away, get out of the situation, count to 10, take a deep breath, so forth. And Ant needs, and vice versa, if you push Ant's buttons, she needs to do the same thing. And you both need to work on not pushing each other's buttons in the first place. That's going to be a big one. the other thing that's linked to that is that the abusive nature, the abusive language and the name calling needs to stop. Remember, you guys are meant to love each other. You said in your video that you love Ant. People who love each other don't call each other names and be abusive to each other and put each other down. So, you know, you need to show your love for each other in the words that you use to describe each other. So, you know, even if perhaps you don't mean the words that you're saying to each other, the abusive language and so forth, even if that's just out of the spur of the moment anger, those words will still build up over time and cause resentment and problems in your relationship. And perhaps, you know, the person who's feeling that way won't realize why they're feeling that way, but that's actually what's going on. So that's a big one. The name calling and the button pushing does need to stop very quickly if you want the relationship to progress and stay happy and healthy. So yeah, that's going to take a conscious, active effort from the both of you. The fourth thing is active tolerance. So you need to actively tolerate the annoying habits and the weird ways of doing things and so forth that each other does. So, you know, if perhaps something what the other person Ant's doing is annoying you, you know, just count to 10. Or you know, just recite in your head how much you love Ant, and just calm down and relax and realize that it's not really a big deal, that it really isn't the end of the world, and you know, you'll get a lot further that way. Now the fifth and sixth things relate back to tolerance as well, and the fifth thing is going out and doing things together as a couple. Doing fun things you both enjoy. You mentioned that you work 12 hours a day. I don't imagine that means that you come home and you guys go out and do fun things together because you're tired and whatnot. And it's quite easy to fall into a laziness where you're comfortable with each other and, you know, you're not going to go out of your way to enjoy yourselves. And if you're not doing that, then what positive parts does the relationship have? So what is in the relationship, you need to ask, that makes it a good relationship to be in? And what is in there to make you feel tolerant towards each other? So the only thing that's going to do that is if you have good times together. So that means you're going to have to go out and, you know, have fun. And the sixth thing is a good, healthy sex life. So good sex is important, and regular good sex is important. The chemicals that produces are actually really important to connection and bonding in a relationship. They help to keep humans bonded to each other and in a state where you're more likely to tolerate each other's annoying habits. So yeah, that's another point that's pretty important. So if you take no more action in your relationship other than just listening to those 6 points, you'll definitely be well on your way to getting started in the right direction. Anyways, look, I'll leave you there. This video has run a bit long. I do hope to hear from you in the near future, but if I don't, I want to wish you and Ant all the best of luck. Alright, cheers.